All right. Oh, right. Okay.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Drive Away Dolls, the new film by one of the Coen Brothers, Ethan Coen. So, in case you didn't know, the Coen Brothers are a very famous filmmaking duo that have been working together for decades, making very successful films, and then recently broke up. They decided to go separate ways, and Joel Coen went on to make The Tragedy of Macbeth, and apparently Ethan Coen was also going to keep making movies. Originally, at least I was under the assumption that he was doing something else. I thought that he said he was going to do like Broadway or something else entirely, but here he is making his debut as a solo director, a solo filmmaker. And normally I'd try to say something clever, but the movie sucked. Let me paint the reasons why. I think both movies that they made on their own, I didn't like The Tragedy of Macbeth either, but for very different reasons. And I think both movies proved to me why each brother needed the other one to be good at making movies, because they're both definitely talented, but both movies were severely lacking in different ways. The Tragedy of Macbeth was just a bad idea, extremely well executed to a degree. It looked phenomenal, very expertly directed. The cinematography is beautiful. Love the visual style of it. Very, straightforward, very intellectual and philosophical feeling. Like, I love the approach. My biggest problem with it was just a bad idea to cast somebody with a Philadelphian accent to do Shakespeare. If I wanted more Philly Shakespeare, I would just go watch Shakespeare in Clark Park. We get enough of that here in Philly. But Denzel Washington, good actor, having him talk like Denzel Washington doing Shakespeare was just a laughably bad decision. I know I'm probably in the minority when I say that I don't like that movie at all. I really don't. There was a lot of really good things about it, but the main thing, Denzel playing Macbeth just doesn't work for me. And so I saw a very extremely technically great director with a really bad idea. This movie was a really interesting and good idea done horribly, absolutely terribly. Before I get into the reasons why it's a bad movie, I also want to throw out that there's a little bit of an uncomfy pedophilic slant to this movie, and it's kind of blink and you'll miss it, but let me explain it. So this movie, apparently Ethan Coen's got a thing for feet. There was multiple feet shots in this movie, much akin to a Tarantino movie, and at first I was like, am I just making this up? And then it became a little bit more apparent because he kept doing it. So I don't know if it's a sexual thing for him or not, but there were a lot of feet shots in this movie. And on top of that, there are flashbacks of one of the main two girls as a child, and there are feet shots of this child. And that may be kind of like, well, you're reaching for it, but it's like, we've already established that there's a foot fetish thing here. So that is a sexual image, and you're doing a sexual image, therefore, of a child, which is weird. It's also in a sexual context because the feet shots are during the sexual awakening of this girl who is a lesbian. The two main characters are lesbians, and she is in the process of witnessing her naked neighbor for the first time and presumably being sexually awoken. So we're getting a sexual shot within a sexual image of a child. It's uncomfortable, don't like that. That made me lose a lot of respect for the people involved. I also want to say that it's a very creepy scene in that it is showing this girl becoming sexually awakened by their naked neighbor who's in their backyard. So she's being a peeping Tom on this neighbor, and it is shown in a romantic or whimsical, it's romanticized, it's shown to be a good thing. And once again, that's creepy. You switch it around. If you were showing a guy becoming sexually awakened by, seeing a naked girl next door, which has been done in a lot of movies, it's very rarely been done as like, oh, this is good, this is cute, oh, look at her becoming sexually awakened. That's what they were doing in this. That's uncomfortable too. So if you disagree with me about that being weird, which I know it's not as blatant as something like Licorice Pizza, where it's like, that was disgusting, never watching that again, didn't like it. And there's much worse too. That was just the first thing that came to mind. First thing I've talked about before on this channel. Even if you disagree, because this is like I said, it's a gray area, it's a little bit vague. I found it uncomfortable, but that's something I hated about this movie. Let me also just explain to you why this movie is bad, because it is just genuinely bad. So first, the good thing, because like I said, it's a good concept. If you haven't seen the trailer, you don't know what it's about. There's these two girls who are kind of hitting rock bottom in a way, so they decide to leave Philadelphia where they live, go on a road trip down to Florida, experience life, try things out, be different, be adventurous. And they both are lesbian, but they're not a couple, they're just best friends. They get this rental car. Meanwhile, there's another conspiracy going on where these gangsters have murdered a guy for his case, and they put the case in the trunk of this car, and that car is for this rental place, and they're going to pick it up, but accidentally there's a mix-up, and now the girls have it, so now the bad guys are trying to find the case, but it's 1999, so you can't just track people, it's a lot harder. So anyway, they have this case, they don't know that they have the case, but there's all this plot and intrigue going on. There's a plot twist involved there. I was about to get into the spoilers already. I will save the spoilers to explain this a little bit better later, but there's a plot twist in there that I found very amusing. What the whole intrigue is about, what the whole plot is about, is actually very funny, and I enjoyed that angle of it. That was about it though. The characters, the two main characters, are completely unrelatable and unlikable, completely. Like the opening scene with the more likable of the two characters is showing how she's uptight, stiff, and annoying. Like there's a guy hitting on her at work, and I get it. It's annoying, she's not attracted to him. Presumably this isn't the first time, he can't take a hint, yada yada yada, but she is just so annoying, and it's not, oh, she's annoying because he's turning him down. He says something, and he goes, anywho, and she goes, don't say anywho, don't say that phrase, and he goes, it's not a phrase, it's a word, and she goes, well, don't say that word, and then they keep talking, and then he corrects her on something, and she goes, do I tell you how to talk? I'm like, yes, and that is a joke. He goes, yes, you just did, and she goes, ah, whatever. But it's like, you are making this character extremely unlikable. If I had met a person like this, I would never talk to them, because they are so self-consumed and self-absorbed that they can't see the irony in how annoying they are. And when they correct people, it's okay, but they're not allowed to be corrected. Extremely unlikable. Also, she's just like, has no personality whatsoever. This isn't, okay, I do want to mention, this isn't anything against the actors. They all seem pretty good, but she's completely unlikable. Meanwhile, the other character is just off the deep end in the other direction. Like, she won't sleep with anybody. This character wants to sleep with everybody. Is just very manipulative, very annoying, very self-centered as well. Everybody's self-centered, extremely unfunny. This movie's supposed to be a comedy, and there was 3 jokes tops that made me laugh in this movie. Really, it's just genuinely unfunny. There's the 2 hitmen that are coming after them, trying to track them down, also supposed to be there primarily for comedic relief, and they're not funny at all. There's also a scene where they go, they're like traveling across the country, and they're in the middle of the buoys for this one scene. So there's this old guy in a bar that's supposed to have a really thick accent. I mean, he does have a really thick accent, and you're supposed to not understand him for comedic effect, but I understood him, you know, like, and I'm not from there, I'm from Philly, and I was able to piece together what he said. So it wasn't funny, because it's like, well, it's supposed to be impossible to understand, but I understood it, so the joke doesn't work. Not funny jokes being said constantly, just an uninteresting story for the majority of it, because the only thing that made it interesting was the plot twist, and that happens well into the movie. Frankly, the best part about this movie is that it was as short as it was. I went in assuming this movie was 2 hours. I thought I knew that it was, and then the movie ended after about 90 minutes, and I was like, oh, thank God. Because I wanted to walk out for the majority of this movie. It was so unenjoyable for so long, and it's also just really poorly made. Like the opening scene, you've seen it in the trailer, I'm sure. If you've seen the trailer, Pedro Pascal has a very small role in this movie, where he's the guy that has the briefcase at the beginning, and it is filmed and acted like it's a B-movie. His acting is B-movie level. All of the acting in that scene is B-movie level, intentionally so, and to great comedic effect. It was one of the 3 jokes that made me laugh. And then for the rest of the movie, they act like it's a B-movie one other time. When they find the briefcase in the trunk, the one character screams, and that was shot like a B-movie. No other B-movie moment is in this entire movie, so it just really calls into question those two moments, like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? There's also an absurd amount of stupid, annoying scene transitions that are supposed to be quirky or something. It would make George Lucas blush, the amount of ridiculous scene transitions there were, and they were annoying and kept happening. And there was also these weird psychedelic moments that I guess in retrospect made a little bit of sense after you find out the plot twist, but for the majority of this movie, I had no idea why there were these random in-cuts of psychedelic, like, screensaver moments. It added nothing to the movie. It really came down to, it seems like Ethan Coen had an interesting idea and had no idea how to make it. An incredibly unfunny, just stupid, boring plot that went nowhere and left me with nothing. Also, one of the most unconvincing love stories I have ever watched ever. The two characters that are supposed to fall in love have zero chemistry and zero reason to fall in love other than convenience and plot. So yeah, no, this movie's a 3 out of 10. I might be being a little bit generous, but I gave it a point for each time it made me laugh. Because it is a comedy after all, so if it makes you laugh, it kind of covers over a world of hurt. So 3 points, 3 stars, 3 laughs. Happy-go-lucky. Awful movie. Man, I like the Coen Brothers, but this has really proven to me why they need to work together. You've got a good filmmaker and an ideas guy. You need them together. I mean, clearly Joel Coen didn't have any ideas. He went to Shakespeare. That's, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel if you're going back to Shakespeare. And then Ethan, interesting idea. Didn't know how to make it. You guys really should just get back together so you can get back to making good movies. I don't know what the hell this was. It was really, really bad. Really bad. This movie felt genuinely like Ethan Coen just wanted an excuse to film lesbian sex scenes and lesbians making out. That's what it felt like. I'm going to get into spoilers so I can get into this plot twist a little bit. If you don't want it spoiled, please click away, but also remember to like, share, and subscribe before you do. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. The big plot twist, which made the whole plot a little bit more interesting, is that the case isn't filled with money, like is implied. And at first, I thought they were never going to reveal what was in the case, and then eventually they revealed that it is a bunch of dildos, which I thought was hilarious. It turns out that the dildos are castings of real people that are actually important people, some of them. One is a politician played by Matt Damon, and so he needs this back. He turns out to be the bad guy that has hired these people to kill and bribe and get these dildos back. So that was interesting because the idea is funny on paper that the briefcase that all of these people are chasing after this whole time is just a bunch of dildos. That on paper is funny, but that's as far as that joke goes. You go, huh, what a funny idea. If only somebody that could write a good script around that idea was involved in this project. And then, okay, I alluded to it, but the two main characters, of course, end up falling in love because why wouldn't they? But like, they have zero chemistry together, at least romantically. They seem like they could maybe be friends, but they don't even seem like friends. But then they end up, you know, through some stupid scene where it was kind of funny because they're at this like sort of orgy or whatever, fulfilling Ethan Coen's lesbian kink or whatever, where they meet this lesbian soccer team and then they're all in a circle in the basement, and then she gets up and blows her whistle so they each move one to the right, so it's like speed dating but speed making out or whatever. And it was funny because, oh look, it's like a soccer drill or whatever. But anyway, so it ends up that the two main characters meet up and now they have to make out. It makes them uncomfortable, or at least it makes the one character uncomfortable. Then later on they're like, oh well, I guess we should have sex, and then oh, it leads to a relationship. And it's like, none of that made any sense. None of that felt real or genuine. It was also contrived. Like I said, they had no romantic chemistry whatsoever. It just happened to satisfy the plot, which it didn't even need to happen for the plot to work. At no point did these characters have to be romantic for the plot to work or make sense. I mean, frankly, it's the same plot in a lot of respects as Dumb and Dumber. You've got two characters going to a place and they've got a briefcase that they don't realize the value of, and they have it by accident, and comedy ensues. It's just Dumb and Dumber. You didn't need there to be romance between Lloyd and Harry. They could have just been great friends. In fact, Dumb Dumb and Dumber is a million times better than this movie is. Way funnier, way better written, much more interesting plot-wise, frankly, and the briefcase was just full of money. That's all it was. The script really felt like it needed some rewrites. It made no sense. Like, there's this whole thing where, like, so they get captured by the bad guys eventually because they find them, and they kidnap them and take the briefcase full of dildos, but they use the one that is Matt Damon's that they need, and they left it out of the briefcase. It's in the hotel room. So then there's this big thing of like, oh no, the maid is going in there to clean. Oh, she finds the dildo. What's gonna happen? She ties a bow on it and puts it in the bathroom. Huh? Like, you just figured something was gonna happen, but nothing happened. So what was the point of any of that? It went nowhere. It was nothing. It was a big nothing burger. Just like there's, I mean, oh, it was so pointless. Nothing was interesting or memorable about this movie other than the idea that there are dildos in a briefcase. That is as funny as this movie got, was that there were dildos in a briefcase. Great writing, dude. Like, I don't know, just please work with your brother again. I don't know if you've got like differences, you hate each other or whatever, but you both have proven you need each other. Get back together, make movies together again, please, for the love of God. Nothing in this movie was interesting. Nothing. The plot was pointless and meandering. None of the characters were likable or funny. Yeah, I got nothing. I don't like it. It's pretty bad. The opening scene actually kind of like gave me a little bit of hope, because I'm like, oh, okay, this looks funny actually. And then the rest of the movie wasn't like that. Like, it was so absurd. It was so much fun. So he's like running away, like comedically running away, and then the bad guy's coming after him, and he pulls out a pocket knife, and you're like, oh, and then he pulls out the corkscrew, and he stabs him with the corkscrew, and then Pedro Pascal starts like untwisting the corkscrew, and so then he stabs him in the other side of his neck with a pen, and so he screams again. Then he's got like another assistant coming, and he grabs like a chainsaw to cut his head off, and he's like dancing down the alleyway with the chainsaw. I was like, that scene was good. What happened to the rest of the movie? If they had just gone full B movie for the whole thing, it would have worked so much better. But no, they tried to take it seriously. Yeah, you're right, Car. I should just shut up. The movie sucks, okay? I know this is my second review in a row where I'm just letting the lights go off, but that's what they should have done to this movie. Let the lights go off on it. It was bad. I'm done. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't go see it. Don't go see the movie. It's bad. It really is. If you're new here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching as always. Bye. Man, sucky movie.